Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is Tuesday, November 26th, and this is episode 63 of Azeroth United. We've got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to be doing a discussion of the relaunch of Classic, the 20th Anniversary Edition servers, and discussing that from a first-hand experience, as well as all the Blizzard and World of Warcraft news. We're also happy to announce that we are reintroducing the This Week in World of Warcraft segment. I'm going to try and help a little bit with the chaos that is the War Within weekly quests. I had no idea when I ended the segment a few months ago how chaotic the War Within was going to be, what the daily loop was going to look like. It's a lot. There's a lot to go into that. And we're just going to try and kind of hit the highlights and what we're going to be doing on a daily basis in Khazalgar. So, there you go. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and enjoy. And as always, if you have any questions or comments about the podcast, or if you have a particular topic that you'd like to hear discussed, please email us at azerothunitedpod@gmail.com. Also, if you enjoy the show, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That really helps out our distribution, so if you're inclined to do so, we'd be very grateful. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe. That will also really help us out. I'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons, who they give their real-life money to help out the production of the show. So we've got our friend of the show patrons who are Judge Omni and Stug Life. Thank you so much for your support. You make Azeroth United possible. Before we get to the news, I wanted to do a quick rundown of what I got up to last week in WoW, because I wasn't sure if I was going to do the Anniversary Realms or if I was going to play Cataclysm Classic or if I was just going to stick with the War Within. And I was kind of at this crossroads. And then Thursday, I had a bunch of things I had to do during the day. And I got home at 4:30 Eastern time, which is about 30 minutes before the servers were supposed to go live. And I was like, you know what? I'm at least going to get a good name. So I jumped on to Dream Scythe, which is the North America PvE server, because I ain't doing that PvP thing. And I grabbed Denethar as a name because, I'm basic. I grabbed a couple of other characters that I'm like, I might want to play a priest. I want to play a druid, hunter, mage, whatnot, paladin. And there we go. So I got myself started on the 20th Anniversary Classic Refresh servers, which so far has been pretty fun. I'm taking my time. I'm going nice and slow. I'm level 17 on my warrior, and I think I just got to the Thunder Brew or whatever the brewer is, the starting zone, Dunmorrow. I'm like, what is the name of the dwarf town? Dunmorrow in, whatever. Oh God, what is it? Whatever. It doesn't matter. Man, I'm just terrible with names. But so I got that set up, and I'll tell you, it's been pretty nice. And we're going to talk a lot about Classic today. That's kind of the main topic of the day is these Classic refresh servers. And, it's really nice having people who really enjoy playing this game and who are having a good time, not people who feel like they have to play. One of the things that really bothers me about the War Within right now is people who feel like they have to play to stay current. Oh, I've got to play because otherwise somebody's going to pass me an IO, or I'm not going to be far enough along, and people aren't going to want to invite me to groups, and that's frustrating. It really is. And I think Classic goes back to a simpler time. Anyway, so I got the warrior, made a night elf because I'm not trying to min-max all that much. Although I did make a human warrior. I haven't leveled him up. I've been playing the night elf. It's fun. It's exactly what I expected. The servers are really simple. I joined a guild. There was a guild spamming invites, and then I thought, okay. And I got into the guild, and guild chat was a little aggressive, and I thought, wow, this is an angry guild. These people are like really going at it. And apparently the guild was flagged for a rename, and I thought, I wonder what happened. The name was like a bunch of just a bunch of letters. I didn't know what, like an acronym or something, or it turns out it was like a right-wing extremist guild or something like that. And I was like, oh, you know what? I don't need to be part of anything political in game. I'm trying to relax and have a good time. So I had to leave that guild. I was like, well, you know what? I don't care what your belief system is, but I don't need it to be like angry or aggressive. That's too much for me. I'm both directions, honestly. Anyway, that was an interesting experience. But yeah, I think it's funny how people will just randomly spam you for an invite, and it's like, okay. Whereas in the War Within, you get randomly invited to a guild instantly. No, declined. No, goodbye. I don't want any part of you. So I'm guildless right now because I have been a little hesitant to join another guild after that. And just doing my thing, running around in Azeroth, which is what I love to do. I also I did do a little bit of War Within. I figured I would kind of play around with the Frost DK spec. I've tried to do it a couple of times, and then a friend needed a spot for the last, or they needed to fill the last spot on Mythic Ulgrax. And so they're like, do you have a DPS spec? And I'm like, yes, but it's terrible. And they're like, well, do you know the mechanics? I was like, well, yeah. So I went into Mythic Ulgrax, which was weird. I hadn't done that one yet. I've obviously done it on Heroic, but not on Mythic. And I was about where I expected to be, around 500K. Not very good. I don't practice Frost at all. That's not what I do. So after that, we didn't kill the boss. And so I was like, all right, you know what? Let me get this set up. Let me make sure that I can do this so that the next time somebody says, hey, do you have a Frost spec? I can actually do something with it instead of just being like, I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, I did that, which was really fun. And I also got my druid switched back over to Resto, where he belongs, honestly. And I just, Guardian's fine, but I'm a Resto druid at heart. That's if I was going to pick a main other than the Death Knight, it would be the Resto druid. So I got that set up, and then I think that's about it. That's about all I did. I haven't even checked my vault yet today because doing Thanksgiving prep here. So, it's fine. And then most of the rest of my time wasn't even spent in Azeroth. Instead, it was spent in City 17. So, because once I booted up Half-Life 2 the other day, and now I'm going full all in. I'm clearing the whole thing. I started a brand new save file and doing the whole thing little bits at a time. And it's such a good game. It's so enjoyable. And I'm all into this now. So it's fun. I really do like it. I miss playing first person shooters. I can't play them competitively because as I've gotten older, my reflexes just don't work the same way anymore. It's one of the reasons why I don't PvP anymore in WoW. But it's really bad in a first person shooter. I tried playing oh god, what is the name of that game? Vanguard? Valorant. Holy shit. That was rough. That was hard playing Valorant because I was like, this is too fast for me. So, that was fun. I mean, I had a good time playing old games. Really, that's what it boils down to. But that's about it. So, I like I said, Thanksgiving prep. The weekend has been kind of half classic, half Half-Life 2, and half Thanksgiving prep. So anyway, we in the guild's run this week, we did a reclear. We got through 4 bosses. Our guild leader was, or not guild, our raid leader was a little tipsy on Wednesday night, so we didn't do so well. But Thursday we killed Rashinon, and I feel like we got some good attempts on Ovanax, but it's still going to be a hill for us to climb to get him. I think we'll do it. I think we'll get Ovanax, and then the Princess. We'll see how that one goes. So anyway, that's about it for the week. So it's a good week. I played a lot of games, a lot more than maybe I was expecting to, but I did a lot of classics. So, all right, that is enough of that. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get into it.
It's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, so there are, after the whole Warcraft Direct and the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft and the 30th anniversary of the Warcraft franchise, they now have Warcraft-themed memorabilia for the anniversary event available on the Blizzard store. So I'm not normally a big Blizzard store person because as far as the merch goes, like I'll buy the mount, the occasional mount or whatever, but the actual clothing items, that's not really for me. But they do have a couple of things that are pretty cool. So they have the WoW Expansions t-shirt. If you haven't seen this thing, it's awesome. It's like a band tee where the front is the logo for the band, and on the back is the name of every city and the date that they toured there, right? If you can picture that, this is a list of every expansion and the date that it was released. It's so cool. I think I'm gonna have to. It's like $40. I'm gonna have to buy it. So because I'm a nerd, I'm a big fanboy. So yeah, we got the expansion T-shirt. We've got the Warcraft RTS T-shirts, which is there's one for Warcraft, Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness. There's Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, and Warcraft 3, Frozen Throne. So yeah, definitely check that out if you're interested in those sorts of things. There's also a Warcraft mug. It's like $15 if you want a Warcraft mug. I might have to buy that one too. Christmas gift, and an anniversary decal. If that's if that's your thing, I don't know what you use with a decal for, but you can get one. So yeah, check out the Blizzard store. I'm not here to shill for Blizzard or try to make them money, but if you like cool stuff and you want to buy them, go for it. If you don't want to give Blizzard any more money than you already are for playing World of Warcraft, that's fine. Don't give them any more money. But I think it's pretty cool. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested. All right, let's talk about Classic. So we've got two news items for Classic. The first one is the first hardcore level 60 on the new Classic Realms is there. Zeroji from Doomhowl North America, which is interesting. I was sure it was going to be a European player, but we got an American, or at least a North American. A troll hunter, not a mage, hunter. Time played was 3 days, 22 hours, 34 minutes, and 27 seconds, which is nuts. That's way fast, but yeah. Says he was in second place for most of the race, but when Ampy died the other day to a disconnect, he took over the lead, and he got level 60 first. So that's, you know what, I think it's cool. The hardcore, it's one of those things that it's impressive to watch. I hate doing it. I don't want to do hardcore. That's not for me. That's not. I don't need that in my life. I don't need that stress. That's why I don't PvP. I don't want that anger, that frustration. So, yeah, but that's pretty cool. He got his level 60. So, congratulations to him and all the accolades that I'm sure he's receiving at this point. So, well deserved. All right. Also on the Anniversary Realms, the Blizzard has announced that dual spec is now available. So if you recall, when they first announced the Realms, they made a couple of changes, and then later on they were like, oh yeah, we'll add dual spec and instant mail to your alts, and they took away the buff and debuff limit. So yeah, you can now purchase dual spec. It is 50 gold, and you can purchase it at level 40. or starting at level 40. You could purchase it at 60 if you want, but you can get it starting at level 40, and that will give you 2 specialization or 2 talent trees that you can specialize. You can swap between the 2. I don't know if you have to be in a specific location to switch, but I don't know. But it's there. So if you're level 40 and you have 58 gold laying around, maybe you're a paladin, you got some extra gold, or warlock, go check out dual spec. It's a great thing for, honestly, for anybody that wants to PvP, first off, because most classes need a different PvP spec than a PvE spec. But in particular for like healers, it's brutal to not be able to do anything. Same thing for tanks. Tanks, you do no damage. I know that in Season of Discovery, even with all the extra stuff that you got, I was still doing terrible damage on a paladin. And maybe I'm just bad, but it was rough. And so, yeah, it would be nice to be able to have that as an option, which they did have dual spec on Season of Discovery. I never got that far. So, yeah, that was really nice of Blizzard. Thank you, Blizzard. You're being very generous. Why do you want something? Is what's going on here? Yeah. So, all right. We'll talk a lot more about Classic in a little bit. Okay, Plunderstorm. So we mentioned last week that Plunderstorm was on the PTR and they had the dates on there already, but they have changed those dates. So it was the January 21st through February 25th, and they've moved it back a week. It's now January 14th to February 18th. So that means we'll get Plunderstorm a week earlier, but it'll end a week earlier. Does that mean we'll get patch 11.1 on February 18th? I don't know. I guess we'll see. I think that would be great if we did, but there's no promises that is going to determine what gives us the patch, the end of Plunderstorm. So I don't know. We'll see. I am really looking forward to Plunderstorm this time around. I really, really am. So hopefully it's fun and it goes well. So yeah, January 14th is your date if you are looking forward to being the Plunder Master. Okay. This one came out today and it was kind of interesting. At first, I kind of was shocked and thought, why would they do that? That's so stupid. But then I thought about it and I was like, no, we'll give it some time, see how it works. They're going to have to refine this. But they are talking about banning levers in Mythic Plus. So if you are a regular lever or serial lever of Mythic Plus groups, basically bricking other people's keys, they're going to start banning people for doing that. Which is a little wild, but that's fine. Whatever you have to do to get more Mythic Plus runs, because I think Blizzard recognizes that Mythic Plus is suffering right now, and it is. But yeah, so Mythic Plus levers are going to be banned. What they say is, today we issued gameplay suspensions for 2 players who intentionally left Mythic Plus groups a great many times in the War Within Season 1. The sort of behavior we actioned was either without regard for the experience of their fellow players, or in some cases, even deliberately intending to harm others' experiences. This is detrimental to the community of players who strive to do their part in group content the vast majority of the time. We understand that occasionally abandoning runs will happen. Players can experience unexpected real-life emergencies, internet outages, or the group collectively deciding to quit the run. Today, we suspended players who repeatedly and recklessly disrupted Mythic Plus groups. We will continue to keep an eye on groups in the future, and repeat offenders are subject to escalating penalties. So, yeah, there you go. Don't leave your Mythic Plus group unless you really mean it. And there's a difference between, oh my God, this group isn't going to be able to do this, and we wiped on the first pull, I'm just leaving. Oh my God. Because look, let's be honest. If you wipe on the first pull, yeah, there's a possibility that group's not going to make it, but give it more than one pull to see if it's going to work. It took you long enough to get into the group and get all the way to the instance and do all that work. Give it a few minutes. Make sure that the group isn't going to be able to, if you go, oh, okay, this tank can't hold aggro, the healer can't keep anyone alive, DPS is standing and things, damage is too low, whatever. That's fine. Leave the group. But what I'm reading from this is that Blizzard is saying, hey, we're watching and we know how many times you've left a keystone before it was done. So yeah, don't leave or you will get banned. And they did say players who intentionally left Mythic Plus groups a great many times. Now, they're not saying what that is because they don't want to give players a threshold where you go, wow, I could leave 100 times or I could leave 99 times as long as I don't get to 100 or whatever the number is. But yeah, that's very interesting. They're taking a much more aggressive stance on protecting their Mythic Plus. And look, Mythic Plus is hard and groups are toxic or pugs are toxic. If you don't have a solid Mythic Plus group, even if you're in a guild, that doesn't mean you have a solid Mythic Plus group. That means that you're in a guild and that you have people that you can go do stuff with. That doesn't mean you're going to be able to go and just clear keystones. Even in a guild, it's hard to get a good, solid group of people that you can go and learn the dungeon with and have the same group day in and day out. You're never going to progress if you are just pugging all the time, unless you manage to get lucky. And that's what happens. People get into pugs and they get lucky and then they think, oh, well, pugging is the way to go. And then when they get into a bad pug, they go, oh, well, it must be everyone else or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. I did do a few weeks ago or a month or two ago, I did my Is Mythic Plus Too Hard episode. And I think what I would like to do in honor of this particular thing is I would like to do an episode on what's wrong with Mythic Plus. Rather than putting out here's what I think is wrong, I want to ask the people out there, what do you think is wrong with Mythic Plus and how would you fix it? How would you change Mythic Plus to make it good, to make it better, to make it stronger, faster, whatever? What would you change? What would you do? So that's kind of where I want to go, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I might reach out to the old Twitter or Reddit and see if anyone's interested in participating in that. So, all right, I did mention earlier that we were resurrecting the This Week in World of Warcraft segment, and we are going to do it slowly because I don't know if I want to do a whole thing with this or if this is going to work or whatever. Because I felt like before I was just regurgitating information that's already available on Wowhead, but sometimes it's hard to have all of that information in one place. Sometimes it's nice to have somebody just tell you, hey, here's what's going on. All right, so this week in World of Warcraft, the Mythic Plus affix for +2 Xal'atath's Bargain is Voidbound. Avoid emissary spawns while players are in combat and buffs enemies. So this is the 30% cooldown reduction and 20% increased versatility. So yeah, you just need to kill the Void Emissary. Yeah, I mean that's if you don't kill him, he'll buff the enemies and they will take reduced damage. So your best bet is to kill that mob as quickly as possible. And then the +4 affix is Tyrannical. Bosses have 25% health, 25% more health, and deal 15% more damage. Tyrannical. You hate it. You hate to see it. There it is. So obviously +7 is the +15 second death penalty, and then +10 is is fortified. So yeah, it's really simple now. it's really straightforward, but sometimes it's nice to know going in what the Mythic Plus affix is for the week. All right, the world boss is Kordak on the Isle of Dorn. He's a giant construct sitting outside on the Isle of Dorn. Go knock him out for a chance at getting champion loot for your main if you're trying to gear up still, or if you maybe you got some alts that you want to get a couple pieces on. Maybe you're missing a champion slot somewhere, then go check out Kordak, the world boss. All right. The bonus event this week is the Northrend Time Walking Dungeon event. So this one, and again, we're going to be getting Turbulent Timeways in the next patch. So right now it's just regular old time walking. So you're going to get the Sign of the Scourge buff, which increases reputation with Northrend reputations. You'll just increase your reputation gain with Northrend factions. Thank you. There we go. Dungeons this week are Ajol Narub, Forge of Souls, Gundrak, Halls of Lightning, the Nexus, and Utgard Keep. That's a pretty good dungeon pool. I like that one. And the time walking raid is going to be Ulduar, which I hate that one because it's so long. So there's 2 quests that you can pick up. There's the Frozen Path Through Time, and you will be asked to defeat 5 time walking raid bosses or dungeons. And it'll give you a piece of champion gear. I believe that's from the Nerebar Palace raid. And then the disturbance detected Ulduar, which is to defeat Yogg-Saron and to loot the Titan prison fragment. And as I mentioned a few weeks ago, they now just auto-loot this to you because of what I had to go through and suffer. Blizzard fixed this. I said it was bad design. Everyone jumped down my throat on Reddit. And oh no, look at that. Blizzard fixed it because it was a bad design. Oh my gosh. And you'll get a piece of heroic gear from I think it's from any of the Wrath of the Lich King raids. But it will be scaled up to the War Within heroic. So, and you have a chance to get mounts from there as well. So you do have the possibility of getting invincible, just saying. All right. And then finally, this Sunday, December 1st, we'll start the Dark Moon Fair. And it will run through December 7th. The Dark Moon Fair is great. I always extol the virtues of the Dark Moon Fair. You can get some some trade skill points or knowledge points. You can get a 10% experience and reputation buff by riding the merry-go-round or the roller coaster. You can get shot out of the cannon. You can fight the Death Metal Knight. There's so much fun things to do at the Dark Moon Fair. Definitely go check it out. It's worth it. I feel like the Dark Moon Fair is more fun than the 20th anniversary event personally, but that's just me. What do I know? Oh man, don't get me started on the 20th anniversary event. Okay. Here we go. I feel like this event was a great idea in concept, and it was so poorly executed. I cannot imagine how Blizzard managed to screw up the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft so badly. It's not good in any way. The time walking dungeons are bad. They didn't give us the original versions. They gave us the updated versions that we got in Cataclysm. So there's that. But it's with the original mob. So we got like Mr. Smite and all that stuff. So it's not the true classic experience. But the mobs are lousy. So they're stunning, they're silencing, they're doing all the annoying things that they did back in original World of Warcraft. But nobody crowd controls. Tanks just run through to the end. They're really bad. We got Blackrock Depths raid, which is objectively just one of the worst raids that they've ever come up with. How they managed to turn one of the coolest dungeons of all time into one of the worst raids of all time, I don't know. Blizzard, what were you doing? What are you doing? The rewards are bad. The only good reward from the entire thing is the tier 2 sets. And even those aren't that good, honestly. Now that I've got some of them, I'm like, I mean, it's nice to have them. But even the Judgment set is kind of, they could have done it so much better. I don't know. And all of the stuff actually at the event in Tanaris, the Mount Mania could have been so much better, but instead it's like Spectral Tiger. It's like, come on, nobody has that. Or the one guy who got it back in the day. Woohoo, bro. I don't. And then the next one is Cliffside Wilderdrake. It's like, everybody has that. What are we doing here? This is so dumb. And then Fashion Frenzy. I actually like Fashion Frenzy. Look, that as a way to do Trial of Style, I actually like Fashion Frenzy better. But anyway, the story time is bad. The ice skating was bad. Flying around on the balloons is dumb. I mean, the whole thing is just kind of, I'd rather go to the fair. I'd rather go to the Dark Moon Fair. So there you go. Silas Dark Moon did something right. All right. Okay. I think we got through all the news. And this week in World of Warcraft, I'm going to clean up that segment. And I'm working on some new bumpers to go in between the segments. Doing some recording some audio for that, and redoing the video, trying to clean all that up. So hopefully I'll have that next week or two. So there you go. That will wrap up the news. Let's move on now to our main topic of the week.
It's time for the main topic of the week.
So yeah, Blizzard released the 20th anniversary edition of World of Warcraft Classic. And I'm in. I am 100% in. Well, maybe not 100%. There are some things that I don't love about Classic. It is still my favorite game mode. I've said that before, and I will say it again. It is my favorite version of World of Warcraft, but one that I can't regularly play. And there's a reason for that. World of Warcraft is 20 years old this year. And a lot of games, when they get to 20 years old, you can tell. If you played Super Mario Brothers in the early 2000s, it would have felt like you were playing a 20-year-old game. If you play pretty much any shooter from 20 years ago, you can tell. It feels old. The graphics feel old. And even World of Warcraft, it feels old. You go back and you play Classic, it feels old. There's nothing about Classic that I think says, hey, this is new and hip. This isn't like somebody discovering the Beatles for the first time and going, this is actually pretty good. And you go, oh, it's from the 1960s. And they go, what? This isn't like that. This is... Games are very visual in their medium. By its nature, a game is visual. There's a lot of other components to it as well, but when you look at a game, you can gauge its age. Now, recently there have been a lot of games made that are designed to look old, and not like, oh, we intentionally have bad graphics, but the graphics are done in kind of a retro style. So I do get the ability to look past the visual aspect of the game. So what is it about World of Warcraft Classic that has had such longevity, such staying power? Surely it's not better than modern World of Warcraft with Mythic Plus and 4 different difficulties of raid, world quests, world events, world bosses. There's so much in World of Warcraft now that you can't even scratch the surface. We don't even have arena back in World of Warcraft Classic. There was no arena. There was just World PvP and Battlegrounds. Now, there are some things in Classic that I like and some things that I don't like. And so what I've done is I've broken out the things about Classic that I think are, I guess what I'll say is the good, the bad, and the ugly. So there's the ones that are good. There's no question. Like, hey, this is a good part of Classic, and this is why people keep coming back to it. There's the bad parts that people really just hate. And there's no good way around it. And then there's the ugly parts where maybe it can work, but it's a little ugly to get through it. It's rough to slog through this particular aspect of the game or whatever. And we're going to go through each one of these, and I'm going to discuss 4 bullet points for each of these 3 categories. And you tell me what you think. If Classic is just the perfect game, or is it really just a question of it's the best of the worst games that we have? I don't know. There's a lot of room for varying opinions out there. It is the internet after all. And I think that we could use to just think through some of these things on a more subjective level and go, okay, what is it about World of Warcraft Classic that makes it work? And what is it about World of Warcraft Classic that doesn't work? All right, let's start off with the good. What is it that makes World of Warcraft Classic so good? What is it that makes it a perfect game by some people's standards? In my opinion, there are 4 things that I would categorize as the good parts of World of Warcraft Classic. The first one is the story. The story in World of Warcraft Classic is by far one of the most engaging, and I don't mean the overarching story, the storyline of the expansion. No, its ability to tell a story, a simple story, whether you're fighting the Defias Brotherhood from Elwyn Forest to Westfall to the Dead Mines themselves, or whether you're helping Old Mancrick look for his wife. Poor Old Mancrick. At least he has a new girlfriend in The War Within. Just saying. The story in World of Warcraft is what gives it such charm and character. People like to say that the world is the main character of World of Warcraft. And I guess from that standpoint, I would say yes, it is the main character, but the story is what makes it so memorable. Or the storytelling that the expansion has, or that the game has built into it. So I love going through the different zones and trying to immerse myself into that world. It's something that you really can't do in modern World of Warcraft. The game feels too focused, too forced. Yeah, there are some side quests or local quests that give it a little bit of flavor and make it feel a little homey. But by and large, the stories aren't really great. It's the Disneyland version of an RPG. And what I mean by that is it's very curated. Here, go here and look at this thing, and then go down this hill, and then go over here. In World of Warcraft vanilla or original World of Warcraft, you could just kind of go and you just find somebody. There's nothing that points you there. There's nothing that takes you there. There's no marker on the map that says, hey, go over here. Now you can get an add-on that tells you that, but there's nothing in the game that says you have to go do this for this reason. There's just nothing. So I would say the story is, to me, one of the best parts of World of Warcraft Classic. Definitely part of the good. Next up, number 2, we've got the leveling experience. Now, I know some people will say, oh, the leveling experience is terrible. It's so long. It's so slow. It forces you to stop and slow down and to value and evaluate everything that you do, because everything that you do has meaning in vanilla World of Warcraft. This isn't retail or modern WoW where you go, oh, I'm level 16. Let me run a dungeon. Oh, now I'm level 19. You're not doing that's not happening. You have to really think when somebody asks you about your character in modern WoW, it's easy. If you're leveling up a new character, it's easy to forget what level you are. Oh, I think I'm like 32 or 37. Oh, I'm 49. Okay, yeah. There is no forgetting your level in World of Warcraft Classic. You know what level you are. I'm level 17. I'm level 22. I'm level 13. I'm level 46. It's very clear. And the progression from zone to zone, if you're following those storylines, the zones will feed off of the previous zones in a way that doesn't happen in modern World of Warcraft. If you go from Elwyn Forest to Westfall to Red Ridge to Duskwood, that's like a complete experience. And yeah, you're going to need to go to other zones to flesh out, because when they originally designed the game, they anticipated that players would grind a lot more, because that's what players did back in those days. For MMO RPGs back in the early 2000s, grinding was what you did. You just went and killed rats for an hour. that's how you leveled up. So World of Warcraft streamlined that a lot by adding in so many quests, but they didn't have enough quests to completely get you from, say, 20 to 30 in Duskwood. Okay, so I'll give you that. But honestly, overall, I would definitely keep the leveling experience And going from 1 to 60, I think 1 to 60 is honestly the best part of World of Warcraft Classic. I think once you get to level 60, it's still fun, but that leveling experience, oh, beautiful. Love it. All right. Number 3, the gear. Now, this one is also a little touchy. I think some people get frustrated with the gear in World of Warcraft Classic because it doesn't follow any sort of structure. It's just kind of random. This piece has a on equip, and this one has 8 spirit and 1 intellect or whatever. But that to me is part of what makes it so good, because you have gear that I feel like Blizzard intentionally designed to be bad. They said, well, you're going to get this staff as a reward, but it's going to be terrible. And you might use it for a little bit, but you're going to want something better. And that's what drives you forward. That's what drives the gearing and the acquisition of better gear forward, is that I got this reward, but it's kind of crappy. So I want something a little bit better. A perfect example is when you do the Dead Mines as an Alliance character. If you're a caster that doesn't wear leather, pretty much your only choice is a staff that has 5 intellect and 11 spirit. Now, the Staff of Westfall is a great weapon. It's perfectly good to use, and a lot of people do use it through their 30s until they get the staff from the Scarlet Monastery, or the dagger and offhand from the Scarlet Monastery. But there's a better staff in the dungeon. So if you go back into the dungeon and run it again, you might get the better staff. And so it helps drive that gear acquisition forward. Whereas now in modern WoW, you get something that's like, well, this has verse and mastery and I need crit and haste, but this is still good. And so you just use it because it's got a good item level, and you're going to upgrade it and it'll be fine because it's a hero piece. And, if you're running plus 12s, or if you're doing Mythic Raid, yeah, you need to min-max your secondary stats. But honestly, it doesn't really matter until you get to that point, unless you're doing high level content. So, that's what, to me, one of the biggest things is that gear. Being able to go to the database in Wowhead and look at, well, I'm level 26, so I need something that's usable by level 26. I want it to have strength. I'd like it to have agility. And it would be nice if, it had attack power on it. You could put all those things in and it'll show you whatever gear has. Maybe there's nothing that matches your criteria. So you say, okay, just show me all the quest rewards that have strength. Here you go. Now you know what quests to go do. I couldn't even tell you any of the quest rewards from the War Within that I got. They were all so unforgettable, or they're so forgettable. Whereas the quest rewards in vanilla World of Warcraft are memorable because of either A, how good they are compared to everything else, or B, how bad they are, and how you use it because you got it and it's a reward, and it's technically better than that gray piece that you had, but it's really not any good for you, but you got it. And when you do get the really good quest rewards, like the Triprin or Dungarees from Gnomeregan, if you're a hunter, a rogue, a druid, a shaman, I don't know if shaman can get those, but anyway, if you are a hunter, a rogue, or a druid, and you get those pants, those are your pants until you're like 50 from Gnomeregan. They're that good. When you get the good pieces, you have them and you keep them. It's like the chassis of Westfall, the pants that you get from male pants that you get from the Dead Mines. 5 strength, 11 stam, I think is what it is. Those pants, you'll wear them until you're in your 30s, 40s, maybe even. Maybe you wear those until you replace them with plate. So yeah, the gear, definitely a good feature from World of Warcraft Classic. The fourth one is one that I don't personally like, but I can recognize when something is good. And in this case, the world PvP is good. Yes, PvP itself can be ugly or even bad. But the world PvP in vanilla WoW was something that we've never seen since. As soon as we got the ability to fly in the Burning Crusade, it went away. As soon as the leveling zones changed and moved to a different place, and nobody was leveling alts at the same time, and all that changed, everything went away. Yes, there was still world PvP, but not like there is in vanilla. People talk about the Stranglethorn Vale Vietnam experience and how they have flashbacks and the 1,000-yard stare, and yeah. And some of those battles are epic. You're out there and you see somebody and you wave at them because you're not sure if they're going to be cool or if they're going to try and fight you, and they wave back and you think, all right, cool. And you go back to your quest, and then they turn around and they charge you and you're like, oh no. Yeah. Sometimes it's a one-on-one. Sometimes you start fighting and somebody comes up to help you and you're like, yes, I have an ally, I have a friend. And then 2 other people come to help them, the other guy. And you're like, oh no, now we're outnumbered. Those back and forth battles, people running between South Shore and Terran Mill. The world PvP in vanilla WoW was the best. It still is in a lot of ways. People get really obsessed about ranking and getting their PvP gear. So I'll give you that, but that's just I don't like PvP. So, the world PvP, not the battlegrounds. We'll get to battlegrounds. World PvP, definitely one of the good features of vanilla WoW. And for me, even as somebody who doesn't like PvP, I loved PvPing back in vanilla. I hated dying, but it was fun. I still had a good time. So, yeah. Anyway. All right. Let's talk about the bad. So, there's a couple things in here, and I want to hit these pretty quickly because I don't want to dwell too much on negatives. And I think most people kind of know what the bad parts of WoW are. First off, the world buff meta. I hate the world buff meta. It is so bad. Now, this wasn't something that existed in vanilla. You got a world buff and you're like, cool, this is awesome. Now it's programmed. You have to get your world buffs at a certain time, then you put them in your chrono boom and you wait and you hold them until you get into Molten Core. It's annoying. People running tribute just to get the world buffs. They don't want any of the loot. They just want the world buffs. People scheduling the dropping of the Onyxia head or the dropping of the Heart of Hakar in Stranglethorn. I really don't like the world buff meta. Blizzard had to put in an item just to protect people because they were losing their world buffs, and it was so aggravating to people that they couldn't go into Molten Core and one-shot the bosses in 30 seconds. They were so angry that Blizzard had to give them the chrono boon. So here we are. I hate the world buff meta. I really do. And that was one of the reasons why I wasn't sure if I was going to play on the Anniversary Realms, because I was like, I really don't want to deal with world buffs. But it's fine. I'm here. So, but yeah, I personally would love for the world buff meta to go the way of GDKPs and just be like gone. I don't need to do anything special. Just turn them off in raids, and then I'm good. I'm good. We don't need anything else. They don't need to make the raids harder. Let's not add any extra mechanics. Just turn off world buffs. The raids will still be easy enough. Maybe not as easy, but they'll still be easy enough. Warriors will still do the most damage. Not quite as much, but they'll still do enough. So, all right. The next one, speaking of raids, it's the raid difficulty. The raids in vanilla, to put it mildly, are brain dead easy. There are a few bosses that have some tricky mechanics, but overall, everything is so simple. And most bosses, when they have a tricky mechanic, they only have the one. If you play modern WoW, you know that bosses will have 10 different things that you have to watch out for. Oh, the timer on this, and watch out for when he casts that, and make sure that stay out of this, and he's going to do this other thing. You got to move out of the... It's so confusing. So I guess maybe it's not necessarily a true bad, but I feel like the raid difficulty is not something that we really... That's not why we're there. And so I'm going to put it in the bad category just because calling it ugly, I don't know. I feel like the raid difficulty doesn't have any really great redeeming features. It's just too easy. It's too easy. Raids go too fast. You know, honestly, the trash in a lot of cases is harder than the bosses. In some of these raids, I'm thinking of like Blackwing Lair, and you've got to coordinate your trash pulls. Whereas when the boss comes, you're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. And yes, there is going to be some difficulty, like I said, but overall, the raid difficulty kind of stinks. All right. Next up is the raid loot. Now, this one, it really only affects the first tier of raids, maybe a little bit of the second tier of raids. But there are a lot of pieces in raid, and specifically, or especially Molten Core, but it exists across raids, because even in later raids, like on Courage, you're going to get crappy gear. Or even in Nax, there's stuff that you're like, technically it's an upgrade, but it's not better. Blizzard had already started to get away from the making cool loot. Yeah, the loot stinks. The loot is terrible. Your entire tier set in Molten Core is garbage. Most of the classes don't even wear their tier sets, or they'll wear a couple of pieces of it. It's so bad. So I get it. I know that that's part of the loot and the gear, and I get that. But the fact that you're doing the hardest content in the game and you can't get something good out of it, that really stinks. I really hate that. That makes me really frustrated, honestly. So again, this is kind of a stretch, but I'm going to call it bad. I can't do it. It's too much. So, all right. The last one in the bad category is Battlegrounds. Now, again, I know that people love PvP, but honestly, Battlegrounds aren't fun. Even if you're Horde and you're winning every Battleground, it's not fun. You have to wait an hour to get into the thing. And when you do, you're not even doing the Battleground. You're farming Alliance in the center of Warsong Gulch, or sprinting to the boss in Alterac Valley. There's no real PvP experience in Battlegrounds that is unique to Battlegrounds. It's just fighting to grind out honorable kills. There's no interesting objectives. Yeah, okay, so you're claiming your objectives in Arathi Basin. That's a little better, but honestly, overall, the Battlegrounds just stink. They were not well designed. The Battlegrounds that came afterward, starting even, well, maybe not the one in Burning Crusade. Starting in Wrath of the Lich King, Battlegrounds got a lot better. But yeah, I don't like Battlegrounds. I would prefer to do World PvP, honestly, than to do Battlegrounds. Which is why I never try to honor rank, because it's like, well, what's the point? I don't want to do Battlegrounds ad nauseum. And I don't want to go lose World PvP 5-on-1 against the Horde. So, yeah, I mean, I'd lose 1-on-1, but still, that's not the point. The point is I still would get ganged up on. So yeah, Battlegrounds, not for me. I definitely say the Battlegrounds were a bad feature of vanilla that I don't know that anyone is coming back to vanilla to do the Battlegrounds. They're coming back to vanilla because they want to rank and they want to do PvP, and Battlegrounds just happens to be the best source of honor. So there you go. All right, finally, let's do the ugly. There's a couple on here that I'm just going to talk about, and we're just going to go through it. First off, professions. Professions in vanilla were ugly. UGLY. You ain't got no alibi. You are ugly. There is very little redeeming value in the profession system in vanilla. Very little. There are a couple of really good pieces that you can get. And alchemy, obviously, is going to be a great profession for raiding. But you got to go grind those recipes over and over and over and over. And they weren't alchemy specific, so anybody could get them. So if a recipe dropped, anybody could get it. And then they could sell it. I didn't like the way the professions were implemented. I really didn't. The professions got cleaned up in later expansions. You spent the first 70 points of your profession making white gear. Who is that for? You just vendor all of it. You can't even disenchant it and get strange dust. It was just, it's just bad. You spent so much time and so much gold leveling up your professions only to not be able to make money off of them unless you got lucky and got the Lionheart Helm or the Flask of Titans or whatever. Professions were ugly. But if you did get one of those pieces, you were golden. And it was fun leveling up the professions. I will give them the credit for making the system fun. It's too brutal. It's too hard to get anywhere with the profession system. I would say that if there was one thing that I would want to clean up in vanilla World of Warcraft, it would be the profession system. They could have cleaned that up a little bit. But it's fine. Leave it the way it is. It's fine. I'm okay with it. All right. Next up is, speaking of professions, the economy. Yeah. So everybody wants to play fresh. Why? Because it has a fresh economy. You've got the same chance as everyone else to get those good patterns early and make money, or to go farm up all of your Peace Bloom, hold it, and then wait. And then when the price of Peace Bloom is 35 silver per, man, you're selling that stuff, you're making bank. Yeah, the economy was an interesting thing back in vanilla because it actually mattered how much gold you had. You had to think before you made a purchase. Respecializing your talents was something you had to really consider because you had to have enough gold to do it. And yeah, people have ruined that with buying gold. And I hate the fact that people just feel like, oh, I'm just going to buy gold, because it is gold driven. The economy is such a huge part of Classic that people feel forced into buying gold. And you're not forced into buying gold, mind you. The only reason people were buying so much gold is so they could compete in GDKPs. If you're still buying gold in the anniversary servers, what are you doing? Why? Why would you do that? Ugly. The economy was ugly. It was fun to get in there and like I said, you never knew what was going to make you money. You never knew what recipe you were going to get. You never knew what niche you were going to find in the market. Maybe you were going to fish up the stone scale eels and they were going to sell for a gold a piece. Woo! Yeah, the economy. Okay. Next up is the dungeons. Now, there are some killer dungeons in vanilla. Dead Mines, Scarlet Monastery, Zul'Farrak, some of the level 60 dungeons like Stratholme, Dire Maul, Upper and Lower Blackrock Spire, primarily Upper Blackrock Spire. And of course, the king of all World of Warcraft dungeons, Blackrock Depths. The dungeon, not the raid. Screw the raid. But there was some stinkers out there. Imagine getting into a Wailing Caverns group and realizing these people have never been in here before. Oh, you're screwed. Yeah. Or Razorfen Crawl. No. Just no. Razorfen Downs wasn't so bad. Gnomragon. Oh, Gnomragon, you make me want to cry. And if you're a druid, you are crying because you know what you have to do. Scholomance. Oh, Scholomance. Oh, I hated that one so much. So yeah, the dungeons are a mixed bag. Some of them are really good. Some of them are really bad. Some of the really good ones have some really bad trash. Some of the really bad ones have some really cool bosses. It's a mixed bag. And so I'm going to give the dungeons an ugly score in this one because I do feel like there's enough to keep it respectable, but there's also enough to just, this is not a winning feature for Classic. So, all right. And the final one is class exclusives. Now, of course, you're going to think of the two big ones, obviously, the Hunter and the Priest weapons. You get those epic quest lines that you go do. You get the Benediction. You get the Rakdalar. I mean, if you're a Hunter or a Priest, whew, awesome. If you're any other class, no. Now, there was some special things that you could get for the different classes. There was some loot that you could get that was class specific. There was quests that you would do while leveling that would give you really cool rewards, some better than others. I mean, there was a mage quest, I think it was level 40, where you get a really good wand, and it's like, well, that wand could last you to level 60. So, you know, I like the idea of giving some specific flavor and not making everybody equal. Like, everybody's going to get their epic quest line, everyone's going to get their turn. No, why? Just, you don't have to make everything be equal. But it doesn't feel good if you're playing a warrior and you're like, wow, I got my whirlwind at level 40 and that's it. So, I don't know. I feel like the class exclusives are a little ugly, just because of jealousy. It's really the only reason is just jealousy. So, all right, that's my list. There are plenty more reasons that are good to play World of Warcraft, and there are plenty more reasons that are bad to not play World of Warcraft Classic, and lots of ugly, especially when we're dealing with orcs. But you know, what do you think? What you, the listener, you, the viewer, what do you think about this idea of what makes World of Warcraft good? What makes it bad? What is ugly about Classic that you go, well, I don't hate it, but it's there, but I also don't love it. What's your list? What would you put in there? Please let me know. Put it in the comments. Jump onto the Discord server and start a conversation about it. I would love to hear from you. This is the type of thing that I'd love to discuss because it's all our opinions and it's all what we think and what's cool to us and what's not cool to us. So yeah, definitely let me know what you think. And like I said, I'd love to hear it. All right. That is going to wrap up our show for today. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. I really do appreciate it. It is always a pleasure and a privilege to get on this microphone and talk to you. And yeah, I love doing it. So I'm just going to do it every week. So yeah, thank you for listening. If you want to get a hold of me directly, you can reach me on Twitter. I'm at Denethar, or you can reach me on Blue Sky at Denethar as well. You can also occasionally catch me streaming on Twitch or YouTube. I am at Denethar01 for both of those websites. Probably going to start doing some Twitch for the Classic Fresh. Like I said, I was busy this weekend doing other stuff, so I couldn't stream. But yeah, I'll probably get some streams going out this week. For the podcast, you can check out our link tree. That is linktr.ee/Azeroth United. I'll have all the links in the show notes, but the link tree has our Discord server, our Patreon server, our YouTube channel, our Blue Sky, and our X Twitter on there. So lots of ways to get a hold of us. Probably the best way is going to be to, if you want to hit me up directly on Twitter or Blue Sky, or if you want to message me on our Discord server. Those would probably be the best ways to do that. So, yeah, like I said, thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. Remember to be good to each other out there. That's a real life person that's trying to kill you in Stranglethorn Vale. And, you know, it doesn't matter if they're Alliance or Horde. You can still be nice while you send them to the graveyard. So just smile and be kind about it. So, all right. Take care. I love you all, and I'll see you in Azeroth.